Welcome to the Microschools Show, your window on the global microschools movement. Whether you're a teacher with a dream to build a school of your own, or a parent looking for a school that suits your amazing kid, you're sure to be inspired by the creativity and innovation of our guests. I'm your host, Dr. Mara Lineberger. The Microschools Show was launched to feature guests from all over the globe who have championed personalized learning for students by building a microschool of their own, as well as to spotlight some of the key players in the microschools movement. Today, I'm speaking with Heidi Fuhr and Lisa Clemmons, who are creators of The Classroom in Hope, Minnesota. The Classroom is part tutoring pod, part microschool, and it arose from the need for immediate educational solutions as the COVID-19 pandemic put our schools on hold. The mission of the classroom is to manage the educational needs of students so that parents can return to work. Welcome to the show, Heidi and Lisa.
Thanks for having us.
You're so welcome. So, hey, Microschool Pod, tell us a little bit more about, first of all, tell us about yourselves, and then tell us what inspired you to create the classroom.
Well, I guess we're going to start there. As a parent who experienced the distance learning, I guess it would have been in the spring. It was a disaster for us. My son was going into second grade this year, so first grade is when this kind of kicked in, and it was laying on the floor, tantrums. I mean, he's not normally a tantrum thrower.
He's not that kid. No.
And he's always very helpful, and he's never totally been into school, but it wasn't this fight, and it was just a fight. And then of course you're trying to work from home. So anytime I got a work phone call, he took that opportunity to run away, and then I'd have to go find him, or you're making those gestures while you're on the phone, like get back to work.
Well, even before distance learning, it wasn't great, right?
No, and so basically what happened is the school year started to approach for 2020. And it was clear that we were not going back, or that we were going back to some hybrid. I really decided that it wasn't going to work for us. And there were issues that I had noticed before. So before the pandemic, that he was having test anxiety in first grade. And to me, that just isn't necessary. Why is he having test anxiety? That wasn't coming from me. We're very much, if you've done your best and you do your best, that's good enough for us. And we're talking anxiety attacks before leaving for school on spelling test days. And so that was a concern of mine. And then as we roll into this, well, now we have to do it through the computer, and it just amplified. And I didn't know what to do about these items before. And so I kind of ignored them. I think like a lot of us do. We don't know what to do, so we don't do anything. And then comes this pandemic, and now I'm going, not only can he not live this way, and I can't live this way, our family cannot live this way. This is just creating so much stress. A little bit about myself. I am a fairly recent cancer survivor, and I'm working very hard to de-stress my life, or learn how to process stress and take some of that away. And so this was just putting me back to DEFCON, 9, 10? So I started looking for a teacher to partner with. My dad and I had multiple conversations about starting a school for me and my sister's kids, or hiring a tutor.
And your property available.
We started looking around at alternative schools. They got very expensive very quickly. So then we put ads on Facebook and Craigslist looking for a teacher. My day job is a property manager, so I had access to space. I just needed someone to find and be as committed to it as I was for the rest. So the teaching part and so I went through a lot of interviews, and it was strange because for me it was about my family and the children, and all my interviews ended up being about politics.
The first time we talked, though, wow, we just clicked. We had all the same problems with the way the public system has been working, and a lot of the same philosophies about education and learning, and we hit it off right away, and we decided to partner up on this thing.
Yeah, so. It was a very easy meeting. I left the interview going, that was almost too easy. It was just comfortable and easy for us. So
yeah. Well, when it's right, it's right. And I love your story because it's a little bit different than a lot of the folks that I've talked to so far. So you guys really are starting as a response to the pandemic, which is super powerful. And, Lisa, like maybe you wouldn't have done this without the pandemic.
Probably have not. Probably it probably would have just
But we still
limped
like it better
along.
than before the
Yeah.
pandemic, right?
Wherever we are
Yeah.
now, I won't be going back,
Well,
pandemic or
yeah.
no pandemic.
I love that. And I think it's really powerful for families to hear that story of, because I bet you there are tons of parents out there who are thinking exactly the same thing. It
Um,
wasn't working for my son, my daughter. Now it's really not working for my son or my daughter. I have to do something for them, but also for my own personal sanity. Let me just go try this. And then, you jump in. I'm sure we're going to talk about this. Like, it's not all easy. I'm sure it hasn't all been easy for you to get this set up, but
who knows?
now that you're in it and you see how happy you both are, I mean, I can tell you're like, you're relaxed. I'm sure the kids are. You're not going to want to go back, right?
The kids are loving it, and
The
they're
kids are great. I mean, as far as if I was to speak just as someone who brings my child here in my work life, I wake up every morning not only extremely grateful, but like I am living the life. Our family's not, we're not stressed to get out the door. We're not stressed, about the schoolwork. We're just that stress, even the stress we experienced, pre-pandemic is gone.
I also left public school to do this. I was teaching in public school, and I was just really sad and overwhelmed about how poorly the system was working for so many kids. And I really want to believe in public education. I really do. I'm a socialist. So, I think everybody needs to have access to a quality education. So it still kind of grosses me out to be involved in like private school. But
Well, Heidi, I'm going to pause and say, if I haven't said it on previous shows, I was a public school educator for almost 25 years.
okay.
Um, so the
I
work that
still
I
feel
do,
like I'm kind of betraying some of my old colleagues.
no, I'm
But
going to tell you, but in my world, you're not, because I tried as a teacher to make a difference, and I did it to the
it's
best that I
hard
could.
in
But there
that
were so many
system.
constraints, and then I became an administrator. I did teacher professional development, and then was actually a district level administrator, and I couldn't make the changes that would really benefit the kids.
Yeah.
And I came to the hard decision of, I could make myself crazy trying, or I could go and do something different that would help kids, would make me happy. And my sincere hope is with the microschools movement, we're going to demonstrate that small schools, AKA small classrooms, are really in personalized learning, letting kids be more self-directed.
Yes. And like
It works.
enthusiasm and like the, we don't do busy work
Well, and
at
just like
all here. That is
my
not something
son,
that we do.
the school kept telling him he's behind, he's behind, he's behind, he's behind.
He's
He,
clearly
he needs to go to summer school. He needs to go to after school programs. And I'm thinking, because he wasn't reading the way they wanted him to. Yet, if you have spoken to my son, his vocabulary is that of
yeah,
22-year-old.
He's clearly a
His
very
comprehension
bright
is
kid.
beyond. And I've always been, I mean, even back with potty training, I never pushed him. Let him do it at his own pace, and he
Yeah.
did it all on his own, and it wasn't this big stressful thing. And
Well, I think with a lot of kids have sophisticated tastes these days, and the curriculum has not caught up to that.
no, not
So
at all.
when they're learning to read, they they get bored, and that's why they don't want to do the work, and they don't want because it's boring, and it's like, and you then so the system responds by going slower, and then that they get more bored, and then they do fall behind because they haven't done the work, because it was not presented to them in a way that felt good to them.
Well, they're
So
falling behind only on the prescribed scope and sequence of what is supposed to happen when.
exactly.
They're not really behind as far as then they are, so yeah, you're preaching to the choir here, ladies.
Yes.
So here's my question. How would you describe the classroom? Is it micro school, or is it a pod, or a learning co-op, or is it an online resource provider, something else? I mean,
We don't do
don't
any
have
online. I would say we're evolving.
Okay.
I would say secretly we're a micro school.
I mean, officially we're tutors, but
We're kind of operating under the guise of tutoring, which, you know, we do have some distance learning students in our group where
one.
they log on to distance learning, they do their stuff, and then they join in on whatever
We
you
thought
know,
we would get a lot more
projects
business
we're working on.
from people that wanted support for getting their kids through distance learning with their
Mhm.
district. We thought we would be full of that,
I
but
think people are so overwhelmed they're paralyzed to make a decision.
yeah,
Because we get inquiries and then they just no action ever happens, and I think everyone's just on that, like, well, we'll just wait one more week and they'll open, and one more week this will change, and then I think they're overwhelmed, everyone's so stressed and overwhelmed, it's really tough to make a decision. And they say on average we have to review something or see something 11 to 16 times before reacting, and I think people are just so stuck right now. So
Well, and that's
while we're
actually part of why I'm doing this interview series,
right,
because
so
I know people need to see that this actually is a thing,
right,
that
so
it's not just isolated. I mean, I've talked to people in Malaysia and you know, all over the US. I'm scheduled to talk to some people in Mexico. So like this is not an isolated thing. It's
it's
right,
happening everywhere.
springing
And
up
you are so
everywhere.
yeah, you're
Like I
so
have an uncle that's a retired educator, and he just so happens to also be doing a micro school in Milwaukee. And like we both started this completely independently of each other. So it's springing up all over the place.
so you're kind of doing the tutoring. I mean, by the way, this is really common too. I'll tell you both that you use whatever legal stance you can to get
Right.
started.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know,
It would
and then
be
if it
crazy to try to get like accredited as a school right now with 7 students.
well,
So,
my concern with
but
being accredited is that then we're beholden to
right,
the rules we're trying to get away from, you
exactly.
know, and
We love the freedom that we
really
have.
want our kids here not only to be able to learn at their own pace, but to also be able to learn some life skills in the mix, you know, like for
Yes.
example, we've done a lot of projects where we incorporate they have money, so we printed off play money and they had to buy their art materials to make their science project, you know, so just trying to get some of those everyday things, the things that they see their parents do. My son very much wants to be an adult. He does not want to be a kid.
That's common these days.
He's 7 going on 32. You know, half these kids think they're going to flip on a camera and be a famous YouTuber tomorrow.
They
More
do.
than half.
And so we've taken the opportunity to show them, you guys, those YouTubers don't just turn on a camera. This is all the work they put into that little bit of
We made
video
a
you
commercial
see.
actually
Yes.
for our school with the kids, and we found out how difficult it is to get 5 seconds of usable footage for something that's scripted like that. So yeah, I think they have a better idea now of what being a YouTuber would be like.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. It's something
It's
that we
a
can
lot.
totally do. And I've a couple people in the micro schools I work with have kids working on YouTube channels, because if that's what kids want to do, then let them do that, because they can still learn English language, grammar, communication skills, business skills,
Absolutely.
math skills, writing skills. I
The
mean,
value of preparation
yeah,
and
yeah.
planning.
Yeah, there's definitely some work to I mean, even in my own brain, sometimes I have to step back and go, because I'm like, well, why aren't we doing it this way? Well, we don't have to, Lisa. We don't have to, you know, because all of those things that public school drives home, reading, writing, spelling, we're doing without the kids even knowing by doing other projects, you know. So they don't even
Yeah.
realize that they're doing those things, and they're fighting it far less. I mean, since we
Yeah.
started in September, um, a lot of them fought us. They would sit here and
Oh
whine
yeah.
and complain, and I don't
Yep.
know. And
Uh-huh.
we're past all of that now. They come
Yeah.
in ready to be here every day. They're excited.
Well, what you're talking about is something very common. If kids have been in the big system of education for any number of years, they actually have to go through a deprogramming. I
Yep.
mean, it's not that easy for them to say, I've been used to having a teacher tell me this is what you do, this is where, you know, where you do the work, where you put it when you're done. You have to ask permission to go to the bathroom, you know, all of those things that we've created that kids have to follow the rules on. And then we bring them into a scenario where they're more self-directed. Their
It
little
takes
brains
time.
can't quite understand it.
I know. They're just the fact, like, we can roll around on the floor if we want. Sure. You know, you know, with the just kind of the free environment, like sit where you're comfortable. But, you know, one of
Yeah.
them I think's got so much energy he has to run laps while he's working.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's
You would
just
never
kind
be
of
able to do that in a traditional classroom because it would actually be really disruptive when
It
you
would be really disruptive and it would be
Um,
really dangerous too.
right.
Yeah,
And
But
for example, too,
there's
like
only
all of our
7
lighting in
kids,
here is
so.
lamp lighting. We completely turned
Yeah,
off the
that
overhead.
was always my dream when I was in public school is I want lamps.
You know,
And now I got them.
we've worked hard to make our environment, you know, educational but comfortable. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's if I were, and I'm not trying to pigeonhole you gals, but you're sort of a pandemic pod, which is slowly, well, not so slowly,
We hope to
becoming a micro
survive
school.
the
So, you know,
pandemic.
now you're like,
Mm.
if you don't want to give it up, you're becoming a micro school. You're
Well,
not
we
just
have a wide range of students. Our youngest student is first grade, and our oldest is 10th.
Mhm.
So it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot for one teacher for differentiation. I'm sure you can imagine.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, so okay? So you've got a beginning student, and you've got a student that's almost ready to enter high school. What's a typical day like?
I am every second of every day. I am directly teaching someone. Every second. It's very difficult to even to get through like normal rotations. Like this is my 15-minute direct instruction with this group or this student because there's a lot of it, so many interruptions. But like well, they'll get here at 1. We have availability for a morning group as well, but right now we just have an afternoon group from 1 to 5.
So we're operating in a 4-hour block.
Yep. And they get here at 1. We start out with math. Usually there's 3 or 4 different levels of math, but sometimes only 2.
The younger ones really like to get into
The younger
older
ones
math.
love to get into, like I've got,
Our second and
I had
third
all the
graders-
youngest ones doing algebra, yes, the last 2 days.
Our second and third graders are, I mean, mine's in second, and he's
Yeah.
coming home going, "Look what I'm working on." He was so proud to do algebra already. I mean,
We've made amazing strides in math.
we have. I
Amazing.
mean, he's got the times table
They
down.
don't complain
already
anymore.
on
They
his
don't
own.
say I can't do it. Like it's unbelievable what we've done with math and building relationships with each other. But we had what we had to sacrifice to make those huge strides in the first like 3 months was that we didn't focus. I didn't do a lot of focus on the humanities kind of half of the education directly. I mean, we are reading a novel together, but it's not like traditional, differentiated groups and rotations, and we don't do phonics or anything like that.
I'd say we're still finding our
But-
footing on
but
walking the line between
We can do that,
where
with-
we
and
can
it's-
go
and like it's more important, I
and
think, to
traditional.
you can't really do effective teaching without relationships. Like the kids need to want what you're selling.
Well, and we spend a lot of
So,
time analyzing.
They need to
each
respect
child.
you and
You know,
so
as we're like in the beginning. I mean, even just yesterday, we sat down with a group and worked through some issues there. You know, because you're not just a teacher. You're
yeah.
the way we've been describing it is we're a community, or in the case like when we're communicating with mom, and Heidi and I are female. You know, we're all mama bears, and these are all our cubs. So as a group, when one of them is
Yeah.
having a problem, we all have to work together to address that, the parents included.
Yeah.
We are a community. We are a new family.
Well, you basically, have opened a one-room schoolhouse for your
Yeah.
community. This is what we would have done in the past. This is how
Mhm.
it worked. Exactly how you did it, Lisa. You would have searched for the ideal teacher to serve the kids that were in your community.
There's some really awesome benefits to that model too. So
Yeah, I mean, but we have the benefits now of the technologies and resources that we couldn't even imagine
mhm.
back then. And we have teachers that have very, very different preparation, with a lot more education and access to a lot more resource and materials to totally customize education for
It's
today's.
almost
It's fantastic.
overwhelming,
It is overwhelming.
the amount of resources available. Like sometimes
Mhm.
we struggle, which way do we go? So
I don't have I'm not nailed down to any set of curricula. I just pick and choose from all over the place and create my own stuff, and you know, um, yeah, it comes from everywhere, the curriculum that I use, but yeah, it's it's kind of a work in progress. We're still developing into what we will ultimately be, and it's being created by everyone and their needs and their wants, and including the kids,
I mean, they're a big
we're
part
doing
of
what the
it.
kids
They're
say.
a big part. The kids are a big part of where we go with the information.
Absolutely.
As
Well,
we add,
that's actually why you're getting so much buy-in from the kids. And it's
Yeah,
really a great way to start a micro school, is to test out the ideas that you think will work and then to be responsive to what actually works and what doesn't work. And letting the kids
absolutely.
weigh in and have have ownership over their own learning and have ownership over their own school. It makes it's the thing that I think one of the big things that's really lacking in the big system of education is it's very difficult. I mean, I know every teacher creates community, right?
Yes,
Some level.
it's
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
fundamental.
but it's very rare that a teacher is given the autonomy to make the choices that you two are making about
Yes.
what the children learn, how they learn, when they learn. I mean, the fact that you're not starting until 1 in the afternoon, I don't know any teachers that would say no to that. You know,
Yeah,
having their mornings free to do the things they need to do for their family, or so you're tailoring the education to suit your community. It's no wonder people are happy.
yeah, it's working really well, and I'm 100% sure that by the end of this school year, if we're able to keep doing this, which I really hope we can, they're going to be so far ahead of where they would have been in traditional school, even if it wasn't distance learning. So,
Oh, I
um,
don't doubt that at all.
yeah,
I don't doubt that.
I'm sure of it.
So,
It's
what else do we need to know about the classroom?
We still have plenty of space, plenty of space. We take all ages, but we prefer that they have a
Ideally, we're
foundation of reading
yeah,
skills.
ideally first through 12.
But
We
I
don't we
can
don't
take them
feel like
from
at this time we have the resources to work with um,
I can
a kindergartner, or it depends.
I can take
Obviously,
them from
not
like
not all kids
level
are
D or E,
not
F
all
and P
kids are
level
created
reading
equally.
on, but I don't have time to do like kindergarten teacher stuff like, singing
Phonics.
and phonics and you know um a lot of the things they would do in a typical kindergarten classroom. I don't have um the kids to do all that with. I have very few younger kids like that, and so it's more for. But if you have a unusually mature and precocious young, very young child, that could work for
I think our
them.
target students are those who are um,
Oddballs, kind of, I think.
maybe not performing, or you're hearing like I was with my son. I know my son. I'm looking at him going, he's just fine, and I'm being told from the school that he's not fine.
They're
And I
misunderstood.
and I
Our
think too,
ideal students are misunderstood by the system.
or they're just I mean, if you're a parent and you're in tune with your child, you can see that, okay, they're pushing this so hard, yet they're not giving him the opportunity to catch up or even become interested in it enough to want to do it. you know
Yeah.
so and I think with some of the other kids, we have several in here that had IEPs, and honestly, only one of them I feel like actually needed to be on that IEP. Now that they've been in here, it's just kind of become a
Yeah.
crutch for them.
We're,
Not only for the
yeah.
student but for the school as well.
Well,
Uh,
stop and think about it, ladies. The purpose of the IEP was to specify the individual learning that needed to occur for that student to
Mhm.
support their specific needs. You're just doing that with every kid. So
Yeah.
right.
the IEP, the sort of
Mhm.
It's really
urgency of those needs disappears because you're
And
really
the
actually
stigma disappears too with
But
it.
it's
So
sad because to me, what I'm learning, and I'm not an educator, I'm coming from a parent's perspective or, the consumer, right? So I'm not an educator, but I'm watching these other kids very closely and I'm going, okay, so they have these IEPs. The school's supposed to be giving them this special attention. But to me, they're just getting shoved in a corner saying, there's someone watching you, you got your special attention. They weren't actually getting what they needed.
yeah, they're just slow. They're going
And hence,
backing up the curriculum a
hence
couple
they're
of
getting
years.
even
And
more bored. And I
yeah,
mean, we have one.
boredom is such a huge problem
It-
for so many
It
kids.
really is. We have one who I still think sometimes holds out to the I don't know. I don't.
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
he just because he's just so
It's a
stuck
game still, yeah.
on this. For what grade is he in? Sixth grade. 6 years of his life he's been playing the I don't know the answer game. And he's
But we've seen that same thing. Other kids stop it. We're using that kind of game that I don't know, I can't do it. And they've stopped doing that now.
Well,
Completely got them off that. So
we also discipline like you discipline at home. We have what we call the consequence jar. And the kids came up with everything that's in there. So it's things like clean the toilet, clean out the fridge. The same way at home because at school traditionally you go sit over there by themselves. Well, that's what some of them want.
go to a buddy room or
That's
they
what
have
they want.
I the schools that I have worked in, public schools, had just the discipline system just didn't work at all.
Do you think ours works?
Yeah, I
Except
mean,
for one. One
yeah.
of one of ours loves to find out what's in the jar because they draw at random. They don't know what they're gonna get. So she just loves
No,
to
I think
find
it
out what
works.
she's gonna
I think
get.
it works because it's yeah, it works. But I try to not do anything the way that I've seen in normal classrooms. Because I mean, partially because a lot of the schools that I've worked in were pretty dysfunctional because not because of unskilled teachers. The teachers are amazing, because they were overburdened with children with like tons and tons of like adverse childhood experiences, um, poverty level incomes, um, racial and socioeconomic segregation, and tons and tons of 33% of the student body needs special extra services, and they can't meet those needs. And and then on the other side of town, there's the schools that are underburdened. The segregation thing is a really big problem in the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul
it's a
area.
problem everywhere, ladies.
Yeah,
I mean, it was a problem yeah. So we are almost out of time. 30 minutes goes so fast.
Wow, yeah.
We keep these interviews short just simply for the consumer so that they can put a short amount of time in and learn the story about a micro school. If you would like to get in touch with Heidi or Lisa, they do have a website. It's www.theclassroommn.com. And thank you for listening to today's show. If you want to be a guest to talk about your micro school or to share your work in the micro schools movement with the world, please reach out to me at mara@microschoolbuilders.com to set up your interview. And until next time, be well.